Joining me now is Roger Kaj from darkemuexposed.org. Roger Kaj, thank you so much for joining me. To start with, what did you and your researchers do in researching Gordon Reid's family tree? Why have you been fairly confident you couldn't find evidence that he does have an Aboriginal ancestor?
Well, Andrew, the way we do this work is we get phone calls and emails from Aboriginal people. So I've got quite a few Wiradjuri friends, and they say, Roger, look, there's something doesn't look right here. So then we go and sort of look at the family. So we don't just do it randomly. We only do it because Aboriginal people that we know ask us. So with this one, we've got really good techniques now, really good AI and really good computer stuff that in the past it used to take months to do a family tree. Now we can do them in days, sometimes hours, just depending on how complicated they are. And with Gordon Reid's family, it's all based on his grandmother. She's a lovely lady. If you go on YouTube, she's a sweet little grandmother. I wouldn't mind her as a grandmother. And she comes from a very, not famous, but a really deeply colonial family. They go back 7 or 8 generations in Australia, and very easy to follow because all the records are there. They were convict settlers. There's all newspaper clippings, so that sort of stuff. So we were able to go back and trace every one of her ancestors. Now, as I understand it, Dr. Gordon Reid's not claiming any Aboriginality from his father's side, so we didn't go, his mother's side, so we didn't go there. So he went to his father and his paternal grandmother, Robin Reid. So we've been down that tree, right? And there's no Aboriginality as far as we can find, because if there is, you find it. The newspaper reports start talking about Aboriginal people, or you'll find some sort of record or a criminal record or something like that. And there's nothing in that. And all her family go back to England, mainly, with a couple of Irish ancestors, 7 or 8 generations. So we're pretty confident, as far as we can see, that there's nothing there.
Now, I don't know whether you've heard Gordon Reid in Parliament on Monday suggesting that we're taking his pride away from him. And why would we do this? Why does this work matter?
Well, it actually matters, Andrew, because, especially in this year, because of The Voice, right? So if you're going to have special opportunities, jobs, or voting rights through The Voice for Aboriginal people, if we all vote that way, the Australian public have to be 100% certain that the people that are sitting on The Voice and voting and getting all the benefits really are Aboriginal. And in Australia, you've got the 3-part rule. Now, Dr. Gordon Reid, he's proud to be Aboriginal because he self-identifies and other people recognise him as such. But that's not enough. That's only 2 parts. You need the 3rd part by law, that you have descent. And so if he hasn't got descent, right, and he's saying he's Aboriginal, well, the whole thing's a farce. We might as well all just go home, right? Because then anyone can be Aboriginal. You know what I mean? So then you get people who say things like, well, the quickest way to close the gap, Andrew, is if everyone ticked the box next census and everyone became Aboriginal, closing the gap would go because we'd all be the same. But that defeats the purpose. And that's the trouble with all these people who aren't doing things properly, right? So it's not right. And it upsets a lot of Aboriginal people and a lot of non-Aboriginal people. And people are getting upset, right? And it's only going to cause divisions and problems. And then longer term, if for example, Gary Johns says, if you're going to have a race-based system in Australia, you have to be able to determine race. So Gary Johns, he doesn't really want it to happen, but he's saying, well, that means you've got to do DNA testing. And none of us really want to go down that path, but Gary Johns is 100% right. If you're going to give people benefits based on their DNA, you have to be able to determine the DNA.
Just to put viewers in the picture, Gary Johns, of course, is someone I've interviewed here. He is a former Labor minister and one of the leaders of the No campaign, suggesting, well, look, if you're going to have race-based benefits and a race-based politics, then you need to actually prove to people that you are of that race. Now, Roger Kaj, you've done incredible work on your darkemuexposed.org website for years now, putting together. First, it was fact-checking Bruce Pascoe's Dark Emu, of course, and you were about the first to actually establish that he wasn't telling the truth in his history. But you've also put together family trees for some time of people claiming to be Aboriginal, not just Bruce Pascoe, Professor Kerry Doyle, South Australian Attorney General Kaya Ma, Gordon Reid now, and others as well. How and why did all this start?
Well, it sort of starts because I'm just a normal Australian. I tend to be a bit centre right, but everyone, even my lefty friends, are getting worried about wokeism, and that's why we've got to draw a line in the sand, because our society is heading in a really weird place, right? And it's not just us old people, right? It's a lot of young people that are too scared to say anything. So old people like me, we don't care. I've got nothing to lose. So I can, because I'm taking a big risk sticking my neck out doing all this stuff, because we could be sued, but we make sure everything's right. We talk to the people, we give them opportunity to respond, and we haven't been sued yet, touch wood, haven't even got a concerns notice, which means we must be right. You can't just pretend to be something you're not and get away with it. That's why.
Well, it's been going on for a long time now. How many people have you got working on this sort of stuff, on the genealogies, on fact-checking Bruce Pascoe's claims, on other people claiming they're Aborigine who are not?
Yeah, when I started, it was just me. I got really angry with Bruce Pascoe, especially young dark emu. So I just became a keyboard warrior by myself. And within a year or so, I had 30 people all around the country, all adding bits and pieces, writing it up. I edit the website. And since that time, other people have come on, and then we've got 3 really good genealogists, professionals, right? But they can't say who they are because they're scared. They're in the commercial field. They don't want to be associated, but they love doing this work because they're very honest, historical people, and they don't like it. And now, in the last year and a half, I got so many Aboriginal people just feeding me stuff, saying, look, check out this, look at this, right? So it's not just... We're not just doing it from an academic point of view. It's like a grassroots, real people. And I just give all those people a platform, right? So, it costs a lot of money. It's thousands of dollars. But by putting it out there, it sort of gives you a bit of relief that at least someone or some group is trying to do something about all this, trying to be a bit sensible and rational. Because I'm only looking at the really famous people. For every one of these people, there's 10 at a much lower level who I won't chase because there's too much work, but they're in your local council. They're in your local group that's trying to get a claim over a particular development site, and they're all fakes. Hundreds of them, hundreds.
Well, you say hundreds. I mean, we've had some Aboriginal activists say up to 300,000. I think it's probably less than that, but I wouldn't mind betting it's around the 100,000, 150,000 mark based on census stats. As I've said earlier at the top of the show, how many people you think are out there that say they're Aboriginal and not?
I think Susan Ingram, she's saying 300,000. That's a big number. She and I spoke to her. She says that's sort of a scholar's gut feel, right? But I think it's at least 100, 150. And there's some of those people are genuine. They're perhaps a bit like Dr. Gordon Reid's grandmother. I think she probably really believes she's Aboriginal, but they haven't done the work to prove it, right? So there's a lot of people of goodwill that want to be Aboriginal and they just tick the box, but they don't realise that has consequences. But I'm saying there's probably hundreds, maybe a few thousand who are nefarious. They're out there to rig the system and do all these dodgy deals. They're the ones we really got to worry about, right? They're the ones who want to become rent seekers and make money out of it. The average little grandma who wants to tick the box and feel nice is not such a threat, right? But I think there's probably, 100, 150,000 like you, but there's a few hundreds, a few thousand who are actually bad apples. They're the ones you got to watch.
No. I think you make a right distinction there. I don't hold any grudge against Gordon Reid's grandmother. I'm sure she genuinely believes that she is Aboriginal, but like you say, probably hasn't quite done the work. And the same as Kaya Ma's mother. I thought she seemed to genuinely believe it. It just the records don't back her up. Roger Kaj, your research has been absolutely fascinating. I think you're helping to change the political discussion. And let's see what follows from your latest discoveries. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Andrew.